NATO calls Ukraine's eventual membership in the military alliance inevitable and terms China a decisive enabler of Russia's continuing war on Ukraine. India's Modi and Russia's Putin meet the newest giant pandas in the U.S. VOA correspondent Chris Casquejo has more.
NATO calls Ukraine's eventual membership in the military alliance inevitable and terms China a decisive enabler of Russia's continuing war on Ukraine. Welcome to VOA Asia Weekly. I'm Chris Casquejo at the NATO summit in Washington. That story is coming up, but first making headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday, seeking to deepen the relationship between the two countries as NATO leaders gathered in Washington. Modi arrived shortly after a missile hit the main children's hospital in Kyiv. Modi's first trip marks his first visit since Russia's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Bangladesh's top court temporarily suspended quotas for coveted government jobs on Wednesday. The ruling comes after thousands of university students protested against the discriminatory system, which includes reserving 30% of posts for children of those who fought to win Bangladeshi independence in 1971. Heavy rains caused rescuers to suspend the search for 30 people believed to be trapped under a landslide that killed at least 23 people. More than 100 villagers were digging for gold when the disaster hit the unauthorized mine on Indonesia's Sulawesi Island. Officials told the media they have deployed more than 1,000 personnel, including military. Japan and the Philippines signed a defense pact on Monday as both countries face tensions with China. The agreement allows Japan to deploy military forces in the Southeast Asian country for joint military exercises. Similarly, the agreement allows Filipino forces to enter Japan for joint combat training. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Japan should seriously reflect on its history of aggression. The 32-member NATO countries stopped short of offering membership to Ukraine at this week's 75th anniversary summit. The alliance also took aim at China for enabling Russia in its war on Ukraine. To conclude the summit, U.S. President Joe Biden held a news conference amid growing calls to end his re-election campaign. VOA's Anita Powell has more.
President Joe Biden knew that this, a media appearance before a hungry press barraging him over his political future, would be a major challenge. It was preceded by a major wobble just minutes earlier, in which he introduced Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky by his nemesis name.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it.
On Thursday, at the end of a packed day of meetings at the NATO summit, Biden took questions for nearly an hour and attempted to soar above his recent rhetorical stumbles and focus on what he sees as the biggest challenge of his presidency, supporting Ukraine against Russia's onslaught. He took credit for what he described as success.
During the week of this summit, several heads of states made it a point in their statements to thank the United States and to thank me personally for all that NATO has achieved.
But he also acknowledged the challenge the American presidential race has become after his disastrous debate performance last month. He described his poor performance then as a stupid mistake, but reiterated his belief that he will beat former President Donald Trump in November.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
Questions about Biden's ability to stand up to major global challenges have been a whispered undertone of the Washington summit, marking the 75th year of the NATO alliance. Alliance members have made several concrete moves to shore up Ukraine, including a plan to bring coordination of the conflict under the purview of NATO instead of Washington. And publicly, many leaders have dismissed the doubts over Biden's fitness.
I have absolutely no concerns about the capacity of the current President of the United States to lead his country and to lead our fight for Ukraine and to lead NATO. And I think this summit speaks tons and volumes for that.
Some analysts seem to agree.
I think it was a good day for Mr. Biden, the best day he's had in quite some time. Will it change the course of the stream, or will it just be a stone in the stream that diverts the current without fundamentally changing its course? I don't know.
Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
Visit voanews.com for the most up-to-date stories. I'm Chris Casquejo. finally, a first glance at the newest giant pandas to arrive in the U.S. San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance shared some images of Yun Chen and Xin Bao, the first pandas to enter the United States in 21 years. They arrived safely in San Diego on June 27th, and the public will not be able to view them for several weeks. Thanks for watching VOA Asia Weekly. 公众将可以通过多种方式